Thousands of years after the fall of the Luoyang sword house, a sinister force awakened beneath the earth, searching for its next victim. A broken man, blind and barely alive, suddenly heard a voice that knew exactly who he was. For countless years, he had remained chained inside a forgotten prison, while the mysterious being watched him in silence. His tongue had already been ripped out, leaving him unable to answer even if he wanted to. The voice reminded him that even his eyes had been burned away, taking his future along with them. As the mysterious voice continued speaking, long-forgotten memories slowly returned to him. How could he ever forget the tragedy that had destroyed everything he once loved? The sinister being smiled, ready to force him to relive his darkest memories. Ignoring his own suffering, he asked only one question. What happened to his family? The answer was far crueler than he could ever have imagined. The voice forced him to confront every painful memory he had tried to bury. His entire clan had been completely exterminated, leaving nothing behind except ashes and regret. The nightmare did not end with the clan's destruction. Every surviving family member suffered a terrible fate. His eldest sister was brutally beaten to death after being abandoned by those who should have protected her. Even his talented second sister was hunted down and destroyed without mercy. Unable to accept the truth, he screamed with everything he had left, refusing to believe his family was gone. While he buried himself in books, those closest to him betrayed one another in a desperate struggle for power. The nightmare was only beginning, and even darker truths still remained hidden. The mysterious being laughed. Calling himself ordinary was nothing more than a lie. At only 4 years old, he'd already mastered hundreds of medical texts, astonishing everyone around him. By the age of 5, his inventions had already reached the imperial court. At 6, he predicted a devastating drought and saved countless lives through his wisdom. Compared to history's greatest scholars and strategists, his talent surpassed them all. The prison suddenly fell silent as forgotten memories resurfaced. At last, he admitted the truth. He had known everything all along. Born beneath a heavenly killing star, he believed his fate would only bring disaster upon others. The mysterious entity mocked his faith in destiny, claiming fate had already claimed everyone around him. For the first time, he questioned whether destiny had truly controlled his entire life. If heaven had already decided everything, then perhaps resistance had always been meaningless. The creature roared, shattering every illusion he still believed in. If you truly seek karma, the being whispered, then let me tell you an ancient tale. Long ago, people believed absolute justice governed the heavens. Yet evil men enjoyed wealth, power, and peaceful deaths, while justice remained silent. Meanwhile, the righteous suffered endlessly despite living honorable lives. There was no righteous judgment waiting beyond death, only harsh reality. Everything he had believed about heaven's judgment began to crumble. Perhaps justice had never existed at all. Then the mysterious being whispered the words that would change everything. Do you want power? Without hesitation, he answered, if there was even the slightest chance to save everyone, he would take it. But every miracle demanded a price. Even if it meant eternal suffering, he refused to back down. He accepted every consequence. This time, he would seize control of fate with his own hands. Satisfied with his answer, the mysterious being finally began granting him its forbidden power. Open your eyes, the voice commanded. For the first time, he truly saw the darkness within himself. Though their origins were different, they now shared the same path, one that defied heaven itself. The forbidden scripture he received carried a terrifying name, the Sutra of vanquishing darkness and rending the heavens. Unlike heaven's indifferent karma, this forbidden art existed for only one purpose: to devour evil itself. The being asked one final question. Would he truly judge the wicked with his own hands? The voice promised that together they could overturn fate and rewrite the past. Darkness wrapped around his body as a completely new existence was born. From this moment onward, he would become the ruler of darkness, the one who judged all karma. Everything disappeared in a blinding flash. He suddenly opened his eyes inside his younger body. He had truly returned to the past. Feeling his youthful body once again, he slowly accepted the impossible truth. This wasn't a dream. He had really been given another chance. This time, armed with memories of the future, he swore he would change everything. His heart raced as reality finally sank in. He hadn't just survived. He had returned to the 17th year of his life before every tragedy began. Voices echoed outside his room. It was the same mansion, the same people, exactly as he remembered. Even the servants still mocked him as the useless eldest young master. Nothing had changed, except him. Then he noticed something impossible. His senses were sharper than ever before. The power had followed him into the past. It wasn't only his hearing. Every muscle, every movement, every instinct had evolved far beyond an ordinary human. Dark energy flowed through his veins, silently reshaping his body from the inside out. Looking into the mirror, he barely recognized himself. The darkness had begun changing both his body and his soul. Even something as simple as smiling suddenly felt unfamiliar. Had he already forgotten what it meant to be human? After several awkward attempts, he finally forced a smile, convincing enough to fool everyone around him. With his disguise complete, he quietly stepped out of his room to begin rewriting history. This second life had only just begun, and this time he intended to change everything. For the first time, he felt the warmth of sunlight again, a painful reminder that this life was real. The servants immediately noticed something unusual about the eldest young master. They whispered that he had been acting strange for days, not just this morning. Even the cold darkness that once filled him now felt distant, as if his body had already begun to change. Then he gave his first order: summon all the subordinates under him. The servants froze in panic, unable to understand why he was suddenly acting so differently. Soon, the entire pavilion began filling with confused retainers. Even the lowest servant still treated him like a joke, mocking the eldest young master openly. He looked at them all and asked a simple question that silenced the room. "Who am I?" He was the eldest young master of the Luoyang sword house, and everyone there knew it. He declared it plainly, reminding them exactly whose son and heir he was. The servants could only stare back in fear as his confidence slowly replaced their mockery. His gaze carried a strange new authority that none of them had ever seen before. From this moment on, they would no longer decide how he was treated.